The first siren split the afternoon like a blade drawn slow. Rylan Voss stood in the middle of the ranch road, dust curling around his boots, one hand looped through the lead rope of his white gelding. The horse didn't spook. It only flicked an ear toward the sound and kept breathing, steady and warm. That alone told Rylan how much had changed while he was gone. 3 police SUVs crested the low rise to the south, lights strobed red and blue against the Arca land. The reflections jumped off the new metal posts lining the road, posts that hadn't been there the last time Rylan rode out. They blinked a soft, proprietary blue, synchronized, as if the earth itself had learned a new language. He didn't move. The vehicles rolled to a stop in a shallow arc, doors opened. Boots hit dirt. The deputies took in the scene the way professionals did. The horse, the cattle beyond the fence, the turbines turning slow on the ridge, the man who looked like he belonged here. Then a 4th vehicle arrived, sleek, civilian, pearl grey. It parked with deliberate precision. A woman stepped out before the engine finished cooling. She wore a tailored violet suit that didn't collect dust the way everything else out here did. Her shoes sank an inch into the dirt, and she corrected her stance without looking down. Her hair was pinned back with architectural care. In her hand was a slim slate, glowing faintly. "Deputy," she called, already smiling. "Thank you for coming so quickly." The nearest officer, a middle-aged man with sun-creased skin and a county badge polished dull, nodded once. What's the situation?" She turned, extending one arm toward Rylan as if presenting an exhibit. "This individual is trespassing on Harmony Ridge Civic Association property. He's refused multiple automated notices. He's also in violation of animal safety codes." Her eyes flicked to the horse. "That animal is unregistered within HOA boundaries." Rylan finally spoke. "Deputy Soto, right?" The officer glanced at his nameplate, then back at Rylan. "That's right. Good to meet you. I'm Rylan Voss. This is my ranch." The woman's smile sharpened. "That's precisely the issue." She stepped closer, boots leaving clean prints that stopped just short of the boundary post nearest them. The post hummed softly, projecting a faint holographic marker line across the road. It cut cleanly through the space where Rylan stood. "Mr. Voss," she said, "your property was annexed under Civic Harmonization Protocol 7B while you were absent. Notices were delivered digitally and physically. You failed to respond. This land now falls under HOA management." Soto raised a hand, measured. "Let's slow this down. Annexed how?" She tilted her slate so he could see. "Boundary amendment. Properly filed. Consent verified. Time stamped. County registry confirmed." Rylan followed the invisible line with his eyes. It ran straight through his grandfather's cartonwood, clipped the edge of the spring, and swallowed the wind corridor whole. He felt something cold settle behind his ribs. "I was off-planet," he said. "Contract work. You know that registry flags absent status." "It does," she agreed smoothly. "And it allows for proxy consent under certain conditions. Those conditions were met." Soto looked between them. "Mr. Voss, I'm going to need to verify this." "Of course," Rylan said. "Please do." The deputy keyed his wrist console. The post chimed as it synced. Data scrolled. Soto's brow furrowed, not deeply, but enough. "It's showing valid," he said. "Registry recognizes the amendment." The woman exhaled, satisfied. "Then we can proceed. I'd like him escorted off HOA-managed land pending compliance review." Rylan shifted the rope, keeping the horse close. "Before that," he said, "I'd like the serial on that post logged." The woman's eyes flicked, just once. Soto hesitated. "Why?" "County-issued boundary posts have a specific engraving pattern," Rylan said. "Angle of the stamp. Depth. Alloy batch code. That one's off." The deputy crouched, ran his fingers along the metal. His console beeped again as he scanned. "That's strange," he murmured. "Serials, incomplete." The woman laughed lightly. "Deputy, with respect, this is irrelevant. HOA infrastructure is privately sourced. It doesn't need to match county manufacturing runs. Boundary enforcement hardware does, Soto said. He stood. If it's broadcasting jurisdictional authority, it has to meet county spec. Rylan watched the turbines turn. 1 full rotation. 2. He'd installed the microgrid anchors himself, bolted into bedrock older than any charter. I'm not resisting, he said calmly. I'll step back. But I want this recorded as a disputed boundary with non-conforming hardware. The woman's smile faltered, barely. That won't be necessary. It will, Soto replied, already activating his recorder. Rylan led the horse back a few paces, crossing the projected line. The post's light shifted color, acknowledging the move. The land felt no different under his boots, but the air did. As he passed the post, he leaned close enough to see it clearly. The engraving wasn't just wrong. It was shallow, rushed. Installed in a hurry. He straightened. You really should have waited, he said to the woman. For what? She asked. For me to be home. Her eyes hardened. You had your chance. Soto cleared his throat. Mr. Voss, until this is resolved, I'm instructing you to remain off the disputed area. No charges at this time. Rylan nodded. Understood. The deputies began to withdraw, procedural, cautious. The woman stayed where she was, watching Rylan like a piece on a board that hadn't tipped yet. You can appeal, she said. Compliance review takes 48 hours. Fines accrue hourly. Rylan looked past her, at the spring glinting in the sun, at the cattle lifting their heads, at the line that pretended to own them. No, he said. I won't appeal. She frowned. Then you'll lose. He met her gaze, unblinking. You just called the cops to witness your fraud. The turbines turned. The post hummed. And somewhere in the county registry, a timestamp waited to be noticed. The county registry hall smelled like cold metal and recycled air. It used to be a courthouse, back when paper and raised voices mattered. Now it was a quiet cube of servers and glass, with people moving through it like guests in a temple they didn't fully understand. Rylan signed in at a public terminal and waited while the system verified his presence, his absence history, and the contract stamp from Orbitside work. A green icon blinked. Returned status confirmed. Good, he muttered. A clerk approached, sleeves rolled, eyes tired in the specific way that came from watching machines decide people's lives. Her badge read Lenora Pike, Water and Land Desk. I heard Harmony Ridge tagged you, she said without preamble. Rylan blinked. That was fast. She snorted. They don't do subtle. What did they move this time? He brought up the projection. The boundary line slashed across the map like a careless scar. Lenora's mouth tightened. They're after your spring, she said. And your wind. That obvious. To anyone who's been paying attention. She leaned closer. You're the last independent corridor left between them and grid autonomy. Rylan folded his arms. They forged my consent. Lenora tapped the console. I know. 2 others came through here last year saying the same thing. Both settled. Lost land. Lost water access. Why didn't the system flag it? It did, she said quietly. But Harmony Ridge buried the alerts in nuisance-weighted noise. Too many small violations. Too many automated fines. The registry treats it like static. Rylan felt heat rise, slow and controlled. What about the hardware? Lenora's eyes flicked to the cameras. County drones were grounded the night those posts went in. Scheduled maintenance. Funny timing. Who authorized it? She hesitated. Ask the people who used to work for them. That led him to a wind-blasted maintenance depot on the edge of the ridge, where decommissioned drones sat like molted insects. A man waited inside, hood up, hands buried in his jacket. Jay Kwon, he said, not offering a hand. You're the rancher. You ran their drone grid. Past tense. Jay's jaw worked. I quit when she told me to reroute telemetry through a private buffer. She. Jay didn't need to say the name. Maribel Crane didn't want county oversight logs touching the boundary calibration runs. Rylan kept his voice level. I need proof. Jay hesitated, then pulled a small drive from his pocket. Maintenance archives. Legitimate access. I kept copies because I knew she'd burn me if it went wrong. Why help now? Jay looked at the dead drones. Because it did go wrong. Back at the ranch, the sky had darkened with slow-moving clouds, and the wind had picked up. Rylan walked the perimeter, scanning each post. Harmony Ridge Blue still pulsed, but something else buzzed overhead. Drones. Not county issue, sleeker, quieter. A swarm spread out, mapping, tagging, sniffing for violations. His console chimed. Emergency safety order, microgrid fire risk, compliance required. He laughed once, sharp. You don't quit, do you? The drones dipped lower. One projected a hazard overlay across the turbine anchors. Another flagged his cattle as uncontained biological assets. Rylan keyed the recorder and spoke clearly. This property is under dispute. All enforcement actions are contested. The drones didn't care. A neighbor's truck rolled up, dust trailing behind it. Lenora climbed out, breathless. She's escalating. Issued an emergency order to force removal. On what grounds? Predictive fire modeling, she said bitterly. Algorithm says your grid might spark under extreme conditions. Rylan pulled up Jay's data. Telemetry logs scrolled, clean and damning. Harmony Ridge drones had spoofed county packets, inserted boundary data during the outage, and backdated consent verification using a biometric proxy. They used my absence flag, he said. Masked the forgery as lawful delegation. Lenora nodded. There's more. Your grandfather's deed, remember the watershed clause. Rylan froze. The covenant. It never expired, she said. Any governance transfer affecting shared water requires a public hearing and a supermajority of all downstream holders. A drone buzzed closer, light scanning his face. His console pinged again. Consent signature verified. Rylan Voss. He stared at it. They copied my biometric. Lenora swallowed. If that stands, you're finished. Rylan shut the feed down. The ranch felt smaller now, watched from every angle. He took a breath, grounding himself in the smell of dust and cattle and ozone from the turbines. No, he said. If it stands, they are. That night, he didn't sleep. He built an evidence bundle instead, hardware discrepancies, drone logs, outage timestamps, biometric mismatch analysis. He tied it all together with the watershed covenant and the county's own enforcement standards. By dawn, the sky was clear. Harmony Ridge drones still hovered, waiting for permission to bite. Maribel arrived just after sunrise, confident as ever. Final notice, she called. Step away from the grid and surrender the animals for relocation. Rylan walked to the boundary line and stopped, careful not to cross. You should leave. She smiled. Or what? He lifted his console. Or I let the system see you. Her smile didn't move. The system already agrees with me. Not the whole system, he said. A county patrol vehicle crested the road. Deputy Soto stepped out, eyes alert. Rylan nodded to him. Deputy, I'd like to file a public complaint with witness present. Maribel's head snapped toward him. For the first time, her confidence cracked. That won't. Soto raised a hand. Step back. Rylan approached the public terminal mounted beside the road, its interface glowing neutral grey. He uploaded the bundle and spoke one final sentence, steady and precise. I allege charter fraud, illegal boundary enforcement, and violation of watershed protections. The terminal chimed. Complaint received. Audit initiated. Maribel took a step back as the Harmony Ridge blue flickered, then steadied. This isn't over, she said. Rylan met her eyes. It started the moment you moved the dirt. The terminal's glow shifted from neutral grey to amber. Deputy Soto watched it like a man listening for a verdict he couldn't influence. Maribel Crane stood perfectly still, Slate clutched at her side, jaw set hard enough to ache. The Harmony Ridge drones above them paused mid-pattern, hovering as if unsure who they belonged to. Rylan rested his palms on the cool edge of the public console. The system's silence stretched, deliberate. Sodin never rushed. It didn't need to. Status. Maribel demanded, breaking first. Soto didn't answer. His recorder remained active, its tiny red icon blinking steadily. A line of text appeared. Probable cause established. Temporary charter injunction in effect. The drones shuddered. One dipped, then corrected. Another powered down its scanner entirely. Maribel's slate chimed, once, sharp. She glanced at it, then at the hovering machines. "This is a temporary safeguard," she said, voice tight. "Nothing more." Rylan straightened. "Temporary is all it takes." The terminal continued. Expedited audit initiated. Estimated review window. 5 minutes. Soto raised his eyebrows. "That's fast." Rylan nodded. "Only happens when the evidence lines up." Maribel laughed. Brittle. "You think you've beaten an association with 30,000 residents using a ranch road kiosk?" "No," Rylan said. "I think you beat yourself using shortcuts." The wind picked up, rolling dust across the line where Harmony Ridge blue flickered and faded into county neutral. The turbines creaked softly as their blades adjusted. The terminal projected a summary, each item appearing with clinical clarity. Boundary hardware nonconformance confirmed. Drone telemetry spoofing detected. Registry packet insertion during authorized outage verified. Biometric consent mismatch. 0.92 probability of forgery. Maribel stepped closer, heels crunching gravel. "This is harassment. My legal team." "We'll get the same report," Rylan finished. "Along with your board. And every resident paying you to stay inside the lines." Soto shifted his weight. I need you to stand back." She didn't move. The terminal chimed again. Watershed covenant violation flagged. Public hearing bypassed. Supermajority requirement unmet. Maribel's color drained. "That covenant is archaic." "It's binding," Lenora said from behind them. Maribel turned sharply. "You don't belong here." Lenora stepped into view, hat pulled low, eyes steady. "I belong wherever my water does." The system's voice activated, calm, synthetic, impossible to argue with. "Harmony Ridge Civic Association is hereby ordered to cease all enforcement actions pending audit conclusion." The drones responded immediately. They folded their rotors and descended in careful spirals, docking themselves against the sides of Maribel's vehicle like obedient pets suddenly unsure of their owner. Maribel's slate flashed red. "This is procedural overreach," she said, forcing composure. "I want escalation." "Escalation acknowledged," the system replied. "No higher jurisdiction available during active fraud review." The silence afterward was heavier than any shout. 5 minutes felt longer when power slipped through fingers accustomed to gripping it. Rylan watched Maribel recalibrate in real time, her mind racing through options that kept evaporating. "You don't understand what you're doing," she said finally, voice low. "Harmony Ridge maintains order. Without us, services fail. People panic." Rylan looked at the ranch, at the cattle grazing unbothered, at the spring glinting in the distance. "Order that steals isn't stability." The terminal chimed again. "Audit progress. 72%. Soto cleared his throat. "Ms. Crane, I'm advising you to remain on site." She glared at him. "Am I being detained?" "No," he said evenly. "But leaving might complicate your position." She stayed. The sky brightened as the clouds thinned. Sunlight caught the edges of the boundary posts, revealing scratches where they'd been driven in too fast. Rylan crouched, brushing dirt from one base. County alloy beneath the surface was scarred, compromised. The terminal spoke once more. "Audit complete." The words that followed landed without drama. "Charter fraud confirmed. Illegal enforcement verified. Watershed protections breached." A pause. Then, Harmony Ridge Civic Association charter revoked. Entity dissolved effective immediately. Maribel staggered as if struck. Her slate went dark. Every boundary post along the road powered down in unison, their lights extinguishing like a line of candles blown out by a single breath. The projected boundary vanished, leaving only open land and a faint smell of ozone. Soto exhaled slowly. "Well," he said, "that's that." Maribel stared at the terminal, disbelief giving way to fury. "You can't dissolve a community in 5 minutes." The system answered before Rylan could. Community remains. Governing entity does not. Her mouth opened. No words came. A new notice projected into the air, visible to anyone within range. Public notice. Harmony Ridge Civic Association dissolved due to fraudulent governance practices. County administration temporarily assigned. Rylan felt the tension leave his shoulders, slow and earned. He hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't crossed a line. He'd simply let the truth move at its own speed. Maribel turned on him, eyes burning. "This isn't over." He met her gaze. "It never is. But it won't be you deciding anymore." She walked to her vehicle, movement stiff, mechanical. When she drove away, there were no drones escorting her, no lights clearing her path. Just dust and the sound of tires on dirt. Lenora let out a long breath. "I've waited 20 years to see one of these fall." Soto shut off his recorder. "I'll file my report. County will secure the area." Rylan nodded. "Thank you, Deputy." As the patrol vehicle pulled away, the ranch settled into itself. The wind found its rhythm again. The turbines turned freely, unclaimed. Rylan stood alone at the road's edge, watching the boundary posts sink back into irrelevance. 5 minutes. That was all it took to remind a machine, and a woman, that land remembers who cares for it. And power, once exposed, doesn't survive daylight. The silence after power fell was unfamiliar. Harmony Ridge had always hummed, drones whispering overhead, smart fences ticking, alerts chiming through the air like invisible bells. Now the ranch breathed on its own. Wind slid across the grass unfiltered. The turbines adjusted, blades angling with a low, patient groan. Cattle shifted near the spring, unconcerned by human collapse. Rylan stood where the boundary line had been and felt the ground settle. Not triumph, relief. The kind that arrives after holding still through a storm. Within minutes, vehicles appeared on the distant road. Not police this time, but county utility trucks, water authority vans, and one dull grey transport marked municipal transition services. The system moved quickly when a vacuum formed. Lenora joined him again, folding her arms. "They'll be panicking up there," she said, nodding toward the ridge where Harmony Ridge's dome roofs glinted in the sun. No board. No enforcement. No algorithm telling them who's safe. "They'll still be fine," Rylan said. "They just won't be in charge of other people." A county official approached, tablet in hand, expression careful. "Mr. Voss, we're here to secure infrastructure affected by the dissolution." Rylan gestured to the land. Nothing here was theirs. The official checked the tablet, then nodded. "Confirmed. Watershed protections reinstated. Your spring is now a shared emergency resource again." Lenora smiled at that. The official hesitated. "There's one more thing." He turned the tablet so Rylan could see. Harmony Ridge residents are requesting clarification. Some services were tied directly to the HOA charter. Rylan exhaled. "They'll need interim governance." "We'll assign it," the official said. "Temporarily." "Good," Rylan replied. "Temporary tends to become honest." Up the road, a crowd gathered at the edge of the former boundary. Faces tight with confusion, relief, anger, sometimes all at once. A man called out, "Is it true?" "Yes," Lenora said loudly. "It's dissolved." A woman near the front frowned. "Then who do we answer to?" Lenora tilted her head. "The law. Like everyone else." Murmurs rippled through the group. Some nodded. Others looked lost. Maribel Crane watched from her car, parked just far enough away to remain unseen by most. Her slate was dark, useless now. She stepped out anyway, spine straight, dignity intact but brittle. "This will unravel," she said when she reached Rylan. "They'll beg for structure." "Structure doesn't require theft," he replied. She studied him, searching for something, regret, perhaps. Finding none, she laughed softly. "You think you won. I think I protected what wasn't for sale." Her eyes flicked toward the turbines, toward the spring, toward the horizon. "You're naive if you believe this ends with me." Rylan nodded. "I don't." She returned to her car and drove away without another word, dust trailing behind like a closing argument. The county teams worked through the afternoon. Posts were pulled, flagged, catalogued. The smart fence network reverted to neutral county broadcast, then shut down entirely. By evening, the road looked the way it always had, scarred, honest, open. Rylan walked the perimeter as the sun dipped low, checking anchors, listening to the wind move through the grass. His console chimed once. Notice: Municipal Development Authority. Preliminary inquiry. He frowned and opened it. Request: purchase discussion. Wind corridor and water access. He laughed, quiet and humorless. Lenora saw his face. Already. She shook her head. They don't waste time. No, he agreed. They just change uniforms. The message continued. Justification, regional stability, energy optimization, public benefit. Rylan closed it without responding. That night, neighbors came by. Some brought food. Others brought questions. A few brought apologies they'd held too long. "I should have fought," one man said, staring at the fire. "I signed because it was easier." Rylan poked the coals. Easier isn't cheaper. It just hides the cost. The fire crackled. Stars emerged, sharp and plentiful without drone glow to dim them. Later, when the ranch quieted, Rylan sat on the porch and listened. The turbines whispered. The spring flowed. The land remembered. His console chimed again. Follow-up notice. Hearing requested. He smiled faintly. Of course. He didn't answer. Not yet. Because tomorrow he'd ride the fence lines, check the herd, and open the spring gate for anyone who needed it. Because stewardship wasn't a statement, it was repetition with purpose. Somewhere beyond the ridge, systems recalculated. Models updated. Power shifted to find new shapes. Rylan looked out across the dark, unowned stretch of land and felt something rare settle in his chest. Not victory. Agency. And as the wind turned the turbines once more, he knew the next fight would be louder, cleaner, and dressed in better language. But the dirt would still tell the truth. And he would be here to hear it.